It's Averianna, the personality.
Welcome to Streetz 993, your choice for hip hop and R&B. I am your host, Averianna the Personality. Today's guest is an inspirational author, spiritual teacher, and a highly attuned guide who works with clients worldwide, helping them transform their lives through divine guidance. Guys, we welcome Miss Michele Sammons.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. We appreciate your time. I just want to make sure I said that right? Michele Sammons.
That's it. That's me.
Perfect. So we're not going to waste your time. Please introduce yourself to the streets for those who don't already know you.
Yeah, so I'm Michele Sammons, and I work with folks basically kind of shining a spotlight on anything that they would like to have more information about, whether that is their personal lives or their work lives or their spiritual lives. I try to meet my clients right where they are on their path and help them move forward in a way that feels really good.
Sounds good. So we're here to talk about manifestations and affirmations and ways we can improve our lives. So to start, I would like to ask you, what's your take on manifestation versus creating?
Well, that's an excellent question and one that I love. So we all love the manifestation, right? So we all love the pop into the physical form of whatever it happens to be, a song or a book or whatever we have created. It's fun to have it in our hands.
Mm-hmm.
But creation starts way before that. It starts in the energetic realm, where for most humans that feels like imagining and visualizing and dreaming. That's where it starts. And we tend to kind of dismiss that aspect of it because it doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel tangible. It's still kind of in the ethers.
Imaginary, yeah.
Yeah, but when we focus on that and when we dream it into being, it really does kind of the energy coalesces and then it pops into manifestation. So I was giving the analogy this morning to a client. I said, manifestation is like the sprinkles on the cupcake, but the creation is making the batter and cooking it and putting on the icing and making the icing. And then the manifestation is the sprinkle on top. Right. So it lasts for about a minute and it's satisfying for about a minute. Mm-hmm. The process that's really satisfying is the creating of the thing.
I love that. So it's actually a stepping stone. It's not one thing. It's not two different things. It's a part of a process.
Yeah, it's a journey, right? So just like baking a cupcake is a whole journey. I mean, it starts from getting the ingredients out and gathering them and heating your oven and all the preparation that goes into it, and then the actual making of the cake. So all of that is part of the manifestation, and a lot of it happens kind of behind the scenes, even energetically, before we see it physically. So if we make peace with that and we learn to kind of embrace the whole process, then the manifestation becomes really just what it is, kind of that sprinkle on top that we get to enjoy before we're on to the next thing, right? So because the fun is really in the creating.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So what's the easiest way to know you're on the right track to manifesting a beautiful life?
Yeah. So how we translate that into the physical body is through emotions when we're kind of on the fast track of living a joyful life. So anything that you feel passionate about or interested in or curious about or you're wondering about or you're excited about, that's kind of a big spectrum of emotions, but they can often start with just a little curiosity or what would that be like, and then develop into passions and excitement and exuberance. So if we follow those good feelings, it's almost like having an Easter egg hunt. If you follow those things, you will be led to more and more and more, which will then lead to a joyful life, a blissful life, a happy life. But it's in letting yourself follow those little breadcrumbs along the way, and then making that okay and not having to kind of explain it to everybody else why you want to do these things, because you're really kind of following this internal inner guidance when you do that.
I love that. So me personally asking you, what role does intuition play, in manifestations?
Yeah, so intuition is great because it works in leaps and bounds, right? It doesn't follow our logical, analytical, linear mind.
Right.
We like to be in a physical world. You got to have this linear, logical mind. Do you know to put your socks on before your shoes?
Right.
It's important.
Right.
But intuition is going to work almost like a springing from one thing to the next, to the one thing to the next. And it might not make sense, A, B, C, D. That's not how intuition works. It's going to kind of lead you to what you're ready to receive
at that time,
depending on where you are at that time. So it might not make sense to the linear brain. So you kind of got to let that be okay. You don't have to understand it completely. You just have to trust it. And you trust it by practicing. So you get an intuitive hit, you get an idea or an inspiration, or go this way, then that way, and you follow it up with action, with inspired action to see where it leads. And the more you lean into those intuitive hits and those inspiring ideas, the more you learn to trust that, and you know how to hone in on it, and you know what it feels like. So you get better and better at following it.
I love that. So personally, another personal question, do you personally believe that we have a higher being, or how do we I guess I want to ask you, how do we, like, evolutionary wise, the idea of a higher being or higher power, or your intuition, or those I guess the way universe, God, spirit communicates, like, how do we translate that in today's world? Because we get a lot of negative connotations towards manifestations and affirming and higher power and intuition and self, just believing in yourself and tapping in with yourself. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you believe we can cultivate that culture to not have a negative connotation all the time?
Yeah, so yes. We have a higher self. Some people call it a higher self, or a broader self, or a soul self, or an inner being. It doesn't really matter what label you give it. It's this eternal part of you. So humans really like to think that they have a spirit or they have a soul, but really it's the opposite. The soul has a human, right?
Yes.
So if we just embrace that we are that too, it's not one or the other. You are that soul that happens to be in a physical body right now. And you work together in this human experience and creating your life. So that soul part of you, that communication from your soul, from your higher self, that's what we call intuition. So that's messages, that's communication, that's the highway of information that's coming. And it doesn't have all the same parameters and time and values that we do. So it's gonna lead you in the path of least resistance in what you're ready to hear. So if you think of your intuition as wisdom from your soul, then it's easier sometimes to follow if you'll embrace that. Now, how you change the culture about that, I'm not one to want to get out there and change all of these different cultures,
right?
Because there are so many, and some things work for other people, and great, I'm all for that. Use what works for you.
Right.
What you do is you change yourself. So you make it okay for yourself to believe in your inner wisdom, to trust your higher being, to listen to your intuition. You make that super normal for yourself. That's just your mode of operation. That's just your way of being. And then you just let it play out. People will notice because they have that in them too. They can sense when something's working and that's something special. But wait a minute, why is that? Why am I so interested and curious about it? Right. Because they have it too. Yeah. So you be the great example, and you just live your life, and then people will notice. They might not understand why they're noticing, and then it gives you a chance to share if you feel like it, if you feel called to. But you just do your thing, and then let the energy take care of everything else. Let their souls take care of them. Let them notice what they're ready to notice. Just do your thing, and if you focus on that, the rest will just be gravy. You just give me so much peace right now. Thank you for connecting those dots on that question. Last but certainly not least,
why do you think self-doubt blocks manifestations and creation?
Oh my gosh, we get in our own way, don't we?
Yeah, we
do. We do. And we're sometimes our own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is you receive information from your soul self, an idea, inspiration, good timing, and you start to follow it. Mm-hmm. And then what happens is this linear neurological mind that is so helpful to be in the physical world. We all need to know how to drive a car.
Right.
But it will doubt this information that you're getting. And so what happens is when we start to doubt things with this part of us, we split the energy. So imagine you've got this inspiration, this idea, this creative notion, and it's flowing this way, and then you doubt it, you split off the energy. And so the energy's not as powerful. It doesn't have as much momentum because you're splitting it off with your doubt. So you just kind of have to pat yourself on the head on that side and be like, we've got this. We don't have to understand it completely. We can go with it for a little while. Let's just see what happens. If you just comfort that aspect of you, that very human aspect of you, and just because it wants to be seen and it wants to be acknowledged. And if you just love it on it just a little bit, it will get on board and it will say, okay, I surrender and I will go with this momentum that's going. And then your doubt doesn't kind of split the energy and you can follow the creation a little more smoothly.
Thank you so much for that information, Miss Michele. We thank you so much for your time here today. Here doing ATP hours, we always like to host a space for our guests to manifest and affirm things into their lives. So in the next 3 months, give us, give us 2 things, miracle-sized things, that you would like to call in for yourself and manifest for yourself.
Oh, golly, now that is fun. 2 miracle things. Well, so I like to play in the energy. So I'm always excited about expanded states of energy, and then being able to embody that expanded state of energy consciously in a physical body so that I can just be the conduit for what wants to be heard, what's ready to be heard. Yeah. So I'd like to affirm that for myself. That's probably the best gift to me and to others.
I love it. Thinking about others within yourself, I think that's the goal. You know what I'm saying? To always, while healing and nurturing yourself, you're also capable of healing and nurturing the world. Tell us how we can keep up with you on all social media platforms and how we can just continue to follow your journey.
Oh, well, thank you. So the easiest way to keep up with me is on my website, michelesammons.com. Lots of lovely things there. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram, on Facebook. Just type in Michele Sammons and you will find me on all of those channels.
Again, we thank you so much for your time. Y'all, that was Michele Sammons right here on Streetz 993.